Hey, Michael, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Michelle?
Great, great, great. So today I'm doing an interview with Michael Abram with CrossCountry Mortgage, who is my preferred mortgage broker, and we're going to talk about obviously the things that's happening in the mortgage industry following this horrible disaster we had in Los Angeles with the fires, mainly in Pacific Palisades and Altadena. So, Michael, first of all, thanks for being here.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
I'm sure you got a lot of people asking you a lot of questions. And as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, what I wanted to know from you is what was the first question that you got hit, from people who lost their homes? And, 3 weeks later, now that literally the smoke has calmed down a little bit, what is the question that people are asking for or are asking you now? What are they concerned with compared to the first day after the fires?
So some of the clients that have lost their homes have asked that question of how do I get a new mortgage? Because my house is completely gone and I don't know the next steps. And people who are in the middle of escrow that are not impacted by fires are asking, am I going to be able to close a loan in Los
Right.
Angeles right now with the fires that were ongoing?
Right.
Now, thankfully, with the rains, the fires have stopped. So we've had a little more let up here and some more guidance coming out from the banking industry on how to handle some of this.
Right. Okay. So this leads me to my next question, and a question that I think is on everybody's minds who have incurred this terrible loss, who have completely lost their homes. They want to know mainly what are we supposed to do with our mortgage payments? Are we supposed to continue paying? Is it on hold? People are talking about forbearance. What does that mean? Who controls it? Give us a little recap of what's going on, as much as you know.
Sure. Yeah. So if somebody has the means to still make the mortgage payment, whether the home was fully destroyed or it's damaged, continue to make your payments. Don't stop your payments.
Okay.
If you're not in a position where you can do something like that, then what you need to do is call the servicer and put the payments on hold and go on forbearance.
So the
And
servicer
so it's
being your
it's
bank.
something similar to what we saw during COVID, right? When people were putting their payments on
Right.
temporary stoppage. So
Okay.
they will allow you to do that. They're going to see that the address is in the FEMA natural disaster zone because it's all broken down by zip codes and areas with maps and everything. So they will understand the reason why you are temporarily stopping the payments.
Okay, but obviously that can't go on forever. So
Right.
people are talking about forbearance, going forward. What does it mean exactly?
So the funny thing about this forbearance versus what we experienced in COVID is that this is a little more defined. So it's technically about 3 months to about 12 months at most that you can go onto this temporary forbearance. And that's simply because we have not been issued a formal end date for what they call the incident in Los Angeles.
Hmm,
So that started, I believe, January 7th, and we do
right.
not have a defined date yet of saying that we're basically out of the woods and now the incident is over. So that's a really important piece to understand because the clock really hasn't started yet on when they're going to say, it can be up to 12 months from this end date.
I
So
see.
that's important.
I see. Okay. And so, just so that people understand what forbearance means, can you explain that, in a few words?
Sure. So, forbearance is basically stopping your mortgage payments because you're indicating there's a hardship for making those payments. Could be a loss of your job, could be a death of the primary wage earner, could be a pandemic like what we experienced in COVID, right? So, anything that's basically severely hindering your ability to pay your mortgage, you can call the servicer. They will temporarily stop the payments, but what they're doing is every month that you don't pay, they're rolling the payment to the back end of the loan. So it's not like the payment just disappears. It's
Right.
just staying on the total and adding to the back end for the total payoff at the end of the loan.
Right. Banks are not in the business of giving you a nice gift and letting you not pay. They're going to add
Exactly.
that to the end. They're going to say, you don't have to pay it now, but you still owe us the money.
Correct. Correct. So they'll
And
be
so,
forgiving
right. And so
to a
earlier,
degree.
you and I were having a conversation where we were talking about you getting information from HUD,
Hmm.
which is basically the governing entity that directs what the banks should or shouldn't do. And so, what's the last word you heard from them?
So the last email that I got directly back from HUD, which governs FHA loans, so government-backed loans, right? This entity was basically saying a lot of this is going to come down to underwriter discretion, looking at the scope of what the person is trying to do to make certain decisions on behalf of the consumer. So what I mean by that is if somebody has lost their home in, say, the Palisades fire, it is a total loss. There is no structure left.
Right.
And they say, I'm going to put that payment on hold. I'm going to put it on forbearance because I got to figure out what I'm doing here, right?
Hmm.
They want to then go buy a new home because maybe their insurance payout happened quickly, or maybe they didn't have insurance at all, right? Which is a strong possibility.
Sure.
Um, they still need to get a place to live. And so now they want to take advantage of other loan programs that exist for disaster relief. And we're going to see that mortgage payment for that home on their credit report. And that's an important piece because we're going to see that they have a mortgage, have to establish that the mortgage is tied to a property that was fully destroyed. And then we don't want to hit them or include that payment in their qualification because of the natural disaster. So the question becomes, do we need to include that payment against them or do we not? And that's what I was trying to get clarification on from HUD. And it's
Right.
going to come down to an underwriter looking at the parameters of the file and understanding the scope of the file and making that decision in that moment. So that's where I'm going to say it's probably going to make sense for consumers that were impacted like this to get fully underwritten approval done ahead of time to ensure that an underwriter understands and agrees with the scope and severity of what happened to them.
Yeah, this is huge. This is really important for anybody who lost their home in the fire. And if they want to go and buy another home, the lender is going to look at their debt to income ratio. And in their debt, the question is going to be, is the underwriter for who underwrites their new loan,
Mhm.
is he or she going to look at their current mortgage payments on the home that they lost as an actual current debt? Or are they going to put that aside and say, we're going to put that aside for now. We're going to look at your income. And sorry, Jacqueline's phone's ringing. Uh, and we're going to look at their income and see if they qualify without looking at that debt. Um, it sounds like things are kind of like up in the air. There's some clarity coming up, but it's going to be one day at a time. It sounds like. But what
Yeah,
recommendation
it's gonna.
would you make to your to your clients right now, the ones who are looking to buy a home or the ones who lost a home?
What I would really be telling them is, if you're still looking for a home, there are mortgages out there that exist to help people that have gone through a disaster, and they are 100% financing and take advantage of them because there's limited inventory here in Los Angeles,
Yeah,
and anything you can do to give yourself, the ability to buy a new home, take advantage of it. They understand with these programs that you may be financially strapped in this moment, trying to set everything straight, right?
right.
Between the loss of personal belongings, the substantial equity lost. And so these programs are designed to help you get back on your feet with very minimal contribution on your part. So if you're not aware of them, please contact a mortgage broker or a realtor so that you can get some more information on it.
Yeah,
And also, if you're not sure about your payments and everything, just go on forbearance,
yeah.
right? And stop it because at the end of the day, if you can't make the payment in this moment, you don't want to get a mortgage late. A bank may not necessarily know that you're not making a payment because you were impacted by a disaster. So just stop the payment.
Okay, but to go on forbearance to do it correctly, they should contact their lender. What's the process to go on forbearance?
Yeah, so you want to contact the servicer who is servicing your mortgage, and you want to tell them that you were impacted by the disaster with the LA fires and Eaton fire or
Right.
Palisades fire, and you just need to temporarily go on forbearance. So by identifying the reason why, it will be helpful other than just saying I need to go on forbearance because they may not understand why you're asking for that without background information.
Sure, that makes sense. That makes sense. Very good. All right. Well, listen, this is great information. I think that if we have, if anyone who's watching this video, is looking to purchase a home or refinance or have any questions, can they reach out to you? Can they contact you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Especially this is such a gray area, like you said. There's things that we're learning every day, Michelle.
yeah,
So the information's continually changing. It is important to ask these questions as a consumer and make sure that you have the correct information in hand.
great. All right. Well, your information is going to be right here at the bottom of the video. Again, thanks for your time and for clarifying all that. It's like you said, a lot of gray area right now for a lot of people. We feel horrible for them, and hopefully this will bring them a little clarity. And if they have more questions, they can always reach out to you. So
Absolutely. Thanks, Michelle.
thank you, Michael. Take care.
Take care.